What's up, pretty people? This is your homeboy, and we are locked and loaded for a new video in the Shapez BEASTMAM series. Thank you for tuning in. This is video number 29 in our series, so if this is the first time you're with us, then please do click the link in the description as it will take you to the playlist with all of this series' videos in it. Start at number 1 and then work your way back here, because this is a progressive and cumulative series where each video builds on the previous one. And we've talked about tons of stuff already, so if you haven't, go start at number 1. This video right here, it won't go anywhere. And for the ones that have been on the journey, well, the previous video was a tough one, wasn't it? Figuring out how to operate the wires in a deconstructive smelter and cutter setup was one of the harder parts to figure out for this machine. And the good news is, we've passed the summit. From here onwards, the items we will discuss in the BEASTMAM series will be a lot easier in comparison. So kick back, relax, and grab a drink, because today we will have a look at the last puzzle piece of this particular episode within Chapter 5A, Production of Flat and Float, Episode 1C, Section 4, how the wiring of the flat piece factories handles painting. The first thing I'm going to do is select a piece for today that will be sure to give us some nice illustrative demo signals on the wiring we're going to talk about. There we go. And then we're going to go back to the input wires of the flat piece factories, where we will follow the main blue input line. We have already followed the top route in previous episodes, and well, today we are going to follow the bottom route, where first and foremost we will find a cutter. This cutter is going to chop up the shapes into its quadrants, and then I have connected analyzers to it to, extract the colors from it. Now, fun fact, we have seen setups with 4 analyzers with rotation modules, etc. We don't need that here. We can simplify it because we always know which quadrants will end up on which lines. So it's enough, it's sufficient to just make sure they are rotated in the top right corner so that we can connect an analyzer to it. And then these 4 lines, they feed into a similar setup we have seen, where I made use of the Wire Plus's virtual unmixers. And you can see the color input lines, well, they have 12 inputs, 3 times 4, so red, green, and blue for each of the 4 quadrants. And then pretty simply, actually, I have just connected the output lines, the corresponding color outputs to the filters. So you see the red output of this line is connected here. We do have a red signal here, so that's why this filter is open. Then we have the green output connected to the filter on the green line, and finally the blue output connected to the filter on the blue line, and that we have that times 4. And this is actually the only wiring we need for the color mixer, because we've looked at the color mixer before. It is completely wireless. So the wires you see here, they are not part of the color mixer itself. All the color mixer needs is just the correct colors input here with the help of filters, and then everything else is sorted the way it's supposed to be. And on the other end, we get 4 color outputs. This line is for the top right quadrant, bottom right quadrant, bottom left quadrant, and top left quadrant. Another interesting fact is perhaps to have a quick look at these storages. They are absolutely necessary, and the reason why is because the painters themselves, they are double painters, and you probably know, or in case you don't, let me tell you now, they only consume half as much paint as they do shapes. So this means that while we need a full belt of shapes coming in here, we only have half a belt of color coming out here. And we have a difference on the right-hand side where only half a belt of paint is consumed compared to the left-hand side where a full belt of paint is feeding. And the reason I chose to do that is because it's pretty difficult to cut this into half belts because you need 5 color mixers and you cannot split that in 2. So that's the reason I decided to work with mini storages right here. So a full belt coming in from the left, but only a maximum of a quarter belt being, half a belt being consumed on the right hand side. That's why those storages are there. And then we have what I like to believe is a pretty straightforward and standard dual painter setup with a gray bypass. So a bypass in case we are dealing with uncolored quadrants where we don't need any paint. And yeah, we've talked pretty much about all of the wiring. So what I do is I take a copy of the input signal. We rotate it for this other module we've talked about, but then I make sure that it is rotated 180 degrees so that when we cut it, we can get top right, bottom left, and top left again. And again, with analyzers, I am going to emit a color signal right here. The color signal is connected to all of these filters. So if we still have a cue from the previous color and we need a new one, then these filters will help flush that more quickly. That's what that's for. And then let's see, what else do we have? We are also going to, I'm also going to use this belt reader right here. I'm going to take the quadrant signal from it. And if we have a color, then I am going to forward that into these filters. If we don't have a color, then these filters will simply be closed and they will trash whatever remainders we have, whatever cues or leftovers we might have from the previous shape. If it turns out that on a shape change, we no longer have a quadrant for this particular corner of the layer, then these filters will simply close. What else do we have? This is this filter right here. That's the gray bypass. So if we have a gray bypass, then we will need a 1 signal on this filter, and otherwise if we do have something to paint, then it will take the secondary output right here. So the way I did that is I'm simply going to check if there is firstly a shape coming through here, because if there isn't, then I will open up this filter. And no, sorry, that I said the wrong thing. I'm confusing myself. Apologies. So first things first, the color. If we have a gray color, then this comparing unit will output a 1. That will go into the AND gate. And if we have gray right here and we have a shape coming, then the gray bypass would be used, and otherwise we are going to simply take the other one as a default, and that will feed into the painters. I think there is nothing much left to say. This is pretty standard. We've already talked about how the colored quadrants then come out and get stacked again, and then how they are fed into the rest of the machine. So yeah, hey, I guess that's already it for today. As always, I hope you had fun and you're excited for upcoming videos, because even though we've tackled the most complicated topics, or at least that's my perspective, that doesn't mean that there isn't anything interesting left to discuss. After all, we have talked about the decoder and the flat piece factories now, but we haven't looked at how this machine handles floating pieces yet, let alone another very exciting topic to look forward to, which is the way we are going to bring all of those flat and floating pieces together, right? There will be stacking, there will be combining, there will be layer painting, and much, much more. So I hope you're excited, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.